Good evening, race fans. We welcome you here to race number 8 of season 2 of the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. Getting ready for our second road course stop of the season as we are down here in the great state of Texas for Circuit of the Americas. 35 laps of racing here tonight, and it's going to be a wild one because a lot of drivers in the field may not be all that familiar with this track that's just a tick under 3.5 miles. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Matthew Rodriguez. And Matt, a lot of elevation changes for these drivers, a lot of twists and turns as well. We saw in the last road course race at Road America, it really came down between three drivers. The eventual winner, Robert Maleska III, Alex Van Desant, and Matt Wagner. Are we expecting to see those trio duking it out here today?
I'd say you'd see those trio, but the one guy I've got my eyes on is Nick DeGroot. He did very well, at least in other races that we've broadcasted on road courses, so I wouldn't be shocked to see him up in the top 5 here.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised back at Road America that Nick DeGroot was not one of the front runners for a majority of that race. Nick DeGroot, we knew him before we ended up doing the Dark Horse IndyCar Series, saw him on road courses numerous times and actually was very competitive. So we'll see if he's able to bounce back with what we're used to seeing him do at the twists and turns of a road course configuration here today. And of course, DeGroot coming off that victory a couple of weeks ago at Phoenix, trying to get this season, the season after winning the championship, kind of turned back on track.
Yeah, DeGroot has experienced some highs and some lows. Obviously, win 2 weeks ago, and last week had a fuel miscalculation that ended up costing him a very good finish.
Robert Maleska III last week went to victory lane for the third time this season at Twin Ring Motegi. He's looking to go back-to-back for the second time this season as the green flag is out. We're underway, and another thing we have to remember that happened back at Road America, because this is a road course configuration, the likelihood of a caution coming out for these drivers is slim to none. So if you make mistakes early, you've got another 34 laps to be able to recover. But if you make a mistake late, it's going to cost you dearly.
You've got to remember, the main key of these road course races is pacing yourself. Hey, you may be fast to run up those front guys, but these front guys, they're probably not even pushing right now. They're probably just saving their tires, saving their stuff for later in the run. If you burn up your tires now, you're going to regret it about lap 10, lap 12, and when they start really falling off.
And of course, as well, with it being the second road course race of the season, the push-to-pass comes into play as well. These drivers have 10 push-to-passes to be able to utilize, and there are a couple of areas of the racetrack especially that I think would be areas where they would want to use that. There's a straightaway from the final corner, turn 20 down to turn 1, and then a very long straightaway from turn 11 down to turn 12. I think that, if you're at least within striking distance of a driver, that's going to be the area you're going to be wanting to use the push to pass most of all.
See, it's risk versus reward, which is, hey, I don't want to use all these push passes earlier in the race, but hey, I don't want to get to a point where so late in the race, I'm not even within range to use one.
Last week, we ended up talking to Alex Van Desant, and he said that really, he thought the main source of competition for him here today was going to be that 91. The two of them were duking it out for the victory a few weeks ago when we were at Road America. And if you look at our top three here, Maleska III, Alex Van Desant, Matt Wagner, that was your top three finishers in that order from Road America. Wagner has a win. Maleska has 3. Van Desant is the lone man out of that trio that has not found victory lane yet this season.
Nicholas Winook is out around. It looks like in the final corner there.
Out of harm's way as he's down on the inside there of, I believe that is turn 20. Going to get the thing refired and drive away from the incident, but to your point, drops him outside of the top 15. I think he was 11th at the time of his spin, and after his recovery, now finds himself all the way back in 20th position.
Correct, and it really looked like he was just so loose on the entry, but by the time he got to the exit and he hit the rumble strips, the thing was already spinning around.
Close battle right now for the 6th position. Actually make it for 5th. You got Eric Schaus, Jim Herrick, and Craig Forsyth all in the mix. Of course, Craig Forsyth, there's a driver that really is trying to recover after a couple of dismal weeks. Last week at Twin Ring Motegi, finishing, if I recall correctly, outside of the top 20. And he has been struggling overall in the point stands as a result also. This is a driver that finished out last season with the victory in the season finale, the Indianapolis 500.
Just looking throughout the field here, everyone's trying to get a little bit spread out. I'm noticing a little bit of a battle between the 27 and 57 of Herrick and Forsyth. everyone looks like they're taking it relatively easy and calm right now, just trying to push and see where the limits are. Coda is not exactly a very driver friendly or a beginner friendly track. I mean, it takes a lot of rhythm here.
Yeah, this track, in many ways, the corners remind me a lot of Trois Rivieras in just how tight they are. Not a whole lot of rooms for passing. I mean, there's 20 corners at this racetrack. Even the smaller turns left and right are numbered at this particular road course, and so not a whole lot of opportunity for passing. The only difference between this and Trois Rivieras really is if you make a mistake, there's not a wall immediately there to greet you. There is some runoff to be able to recover.
Yeah, Coda definitely has a lot of generous runoff room and obviously a lot of these paved areas where if you do overshoot or do miscalculate a little bit, you've got that little safety net there. I am looking at a push to pass right now, and man, Jim Herrick has been kind of already used two of them up within lap 3. He is really trying to get a little bit of a distance from Forsyth there.
Well, I can't really say that I blame him, just based on the fact that, in all honesty, this is probably the closest these drivers are going to be to each other for the entirety of this race. As we said, the likelihood of them all bunching up with a full course yellow, very, very slim. They'll have the local yellows if an incident occurs, but these drivers more than likely saw the pace car for the final time today when it ducked onto pit road, so why not either use the push to pass to open up a gap between yourself and the driver behind you, or to close in on another driver, because more than likely, you're not going to really have a shot at that driver 10, 15 laps down the road.
And now, Seth, I know you love these strategy games. I've got to ask you: is this going to be a 3-stop?
According to what I'm hearing, these drivers have about 14.4 laps that they can go on a tank of fuel. So we're looking at a 2-stopper here. The big thing is going to be that final pit stop. I think we're going to see everybody on pit road somewhere in the lap 13 to maybe lap 15 range, depending on if they maybe save a little bit under this first stint. But I think that final stop is going to be the crucial one, because if you consider the fact that they can go about 14 laps on fuel, some drivers could come down pit road for that final stop as early as lap 22. Other drivers might think about stretching it to lap 28, 29 and take on less fuel load.
That's going to be the big question, which is I wonder if anyone's going to try 3 stops, just because it seems like with 14.4 laps, it's going to be running out about 30. So we're going to have to try and save a little bit of gas somewhere in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I'm wondering here is we're going to have to keep tabs on the lap time comparison. I mean, right there, 4 laps in, Robert Maleska III just ran his fastest lap of those 4. I don't know how important tires really are going to be here. So do you want to give up all that time and all that track position? And would the fresher tires allow you to close that gap back up? I just don't really think that's a gamble that drivers would be willing to take, especially if guys up here at the front end up going with the 2-tire strategy, or not the 2 tires, but the 2-stop strategy, because I just don't see, if they've got that kind of speed with the way they're pulling away right now, I just don't see how going outside the box in terms of strategy is going to gain you anything on them.
I mean, right now it's looking like the top 3 are pretty much just kind of walking away from the rest of the field. So, personally, road courses are not my strength. I'd be looking for just anything, even if it's not going to aid me in how I'm currently running. Hey, maybe I'll try and short pit this first run and see, maybe by the time I get my last set of tires on my second stop, or if I'm feeling brave enough to take a 3rd stop, let's see if I can put some fresh tires on and make some things happen.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing of it is, too, especially at road courses, you kind of have to pick your battles. You have to figure out, in relation to everybody else, where in your mind do you think that you are able to finish? Do you think you have a 7th place car? If you do, shoot for 7th place. You got to take a look at the drivers around you that are there in terms of relative speed to yourself and figure, okay, these are the guys that I have to beat. These are the guys I have to focus on. And if you're going to try that out-of-the-box strategy, you do it with those drivers in mind, not the drivers that are running up towards the front.
Just looking at a battle here, it looks like for 11th, we got Teed, Corley, and Brooks here. They're all kind of keeping it calm here. I also want to bring a little bit of attention to Gary Corley. He's had pretty good results. I mean, he finished at almost, I think, 11th at Twin Rim Motegi.
Double check on that there. Let's see. Yes, it was 11th at Motegi. Yeah, just barely knocking on the door for his first top 10 of the season.
And see, that's kind of the momentum that gets you in the right swing, which is, even if you're going to a road course, I mean, he's pretty much knocking on the door of a top 10 here. If he can get past Teed and catch up the Brooks up there, I mean, he's knocking on the door of that first top 10.
And you talk about the fact, that you're not the best at road course. I'm not the best at road courses. I'm sure there's a number of drivers in this field as well that, they look at the speedways as their opportunity to be competitive. When you come into a road course, it's really just about keeping it on track and surviving until the next week.
Yeah, it's kind of that survival mentality, which is, if you're good at road courses, hey, this is a speedy car, a speedy track, I know what I'm doing. Obviously, you're thinking, hey, this is my road course time to capitalize. But for a lot of these guys, it's, hey, I just want to survive this road course. Since, if I'm looking at the schedule here, and I know my strengths are going to be on the ovals, going to be on the kind of the high-banked, very fast ovals, I'm looking at that primarily. And I'm looking at these road courses, which is, hey, if I manage to just maintain a good position, don't lose any points, I don't even have to have a great day. Just make me survive this.
Here at Nick DeGroot in the one machine, and I mentioned about how back at Road America, it just didn't really seem like the Nick DeGroot we were used to seeing up at the front. He finished 7th in that Road American race, and we find him right now running in the 8th position. His qualifying effort, even this week, wasn't the best either, and that's why we kind of find him mired inside the second half of the top 10. He is starting to close on Eric Peterson in a battle for 7th place, and actually had a very good corner there to be able to get a run. You got Craig Forsyth trying to reel them in as well, but this battle that we're watching right now, just inside of the top 10, is taking place nearly 30 seconds behind the race leader, Robert Mileska III. That's just the kind of pace the 91 is setting right now.
And just looking here, Mileska's actually only used one push to pass. As I'm watching DeGroot here, DeGroot actually has used none.
And so obviously he's saving it here for later on in the race, as at this point in time, we're almost halfway to when these drivers are going to have to start thinking about green flag pit stops. And this battle for 8th place, or actually 7th place, closed up a lot there through that corner. DeGroot closing in on Peterson and Forsyth closing in on the both. A little bit further back there, you see Gale Brooks and Charles Teed. I believe Brooks actually just picked up that spot against Charles Teed. Of course, Gale Brooks coming off of a top 10 run last week at Motegi, her 4th of the season.
Just looking here at the back of the field, seeing Paul Jennings, actually, it looks like he's pulled it behind the wall here. Not sure what happened to him.
Yeah, Jennings and Krista Nelson actually started this race from pit road. Nelson's still out there, and as you mentioned, Jennings out of the race, and I don't know if this might have been maybe an incident that took place with the 74, or if he just pulled it down pit road, not wanting to run any more laps around Dakota.
Nelson went around. That's really unfortunate. Off of that last week's run, which I think was our highest place finish of the season, that definitely carried some momentum, but obviously, hey, road courses are not for everyone.
You saw coming right into the shot there and making the pass is our race leader, Robert Mileska III. So the 13 will fall -1. Good battle going on here between Craig Forsyth and Eric Peterson, as Forsyth will complete the pass. And while he's not setting nearly as fast lap times as the 91, our race leader, Craig Forsyth, in terms of getting through traffic, he appears to be one of the faster cars out there.
And it's patience. Patience is that key, which is, hey, just because I missed my mark on this turn, or maybe I just can't pass him this turn, hey, there's 3 more passing zones on this track that I can easily pass them at. He's not forcing the issue, which is very smart.
Right now in the 8th position, trying to close in on Nick DeGroot. There's DeGroot. Currently that visibly looks like about maybe 3-4 car lengths. It actually translates to nearly a full second between the two of them, as we had an exchange back behind them. Actually, we had a wreck. Charles Teed, right in front of traffic as he turns that thing back around, right in front of Nicholas Winook. So Charles Teed run into an issue that's going to drop him at least down to the 15th position.
And that's exactly what we're talking about, just mistakes. It looks like he got his left front tire just a little bit on those rumble strips and just spun coming right off the corner. Same thing we saw what happened to Winook.
That's the thing about those rumble strips, too. A lot of people think that it's a good thing to put your tires on those rumble strips. No, that's a guide for the drivers to be able to recognize where the track ends and the grass begins for the most part. But when you go out there and you lay down rubber on those rumble strips, it actually becomes very slick, very slippery. And so you have to be very careful of how long and how what kind of an angle really you take and hit those rumble strips.
Well, see, that's really the problem here, which is all of these guys, you just see on the rumble strips, they're really pushing track limits here. they're really pushing what's acceptable, but race officials won't penalize them over, really won't tell them, hey, you can't do that. Or the iRacing system tell them, hey, you cannot do that. But obviously, hey, to push the boundaries of track limits, hey, those track limits are not going to be very forgiving if you're really pushing the edge of the track. So it's kind of a risk versus reward there.
Todd Schneider in the 86, just up ahead of our race leader, Robert Maleska III, who is laying down lap times in the 1:45 5-second bracket, and he has opened up nearly 4 seconds back to second place, Alex Van Desant. We're about halfway through this run, closing in on our first round of green flag pit stops. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. You're not going to miss a thing. We're going to go FRN side by side.
It's a road few dare to travel, a journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved. That's why we strap in, rev up, and fix our focus on the ultimate prize. Because the reward is well worth the risk. The 2021 NNSCRA Daytona 500, Saturday, February 20th, exclusively on Flatout Racing Network.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
It's a road few dare to travel, a journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved. That's why we strap in, rev up, and fix our focus on the ultimate prize. Because the reward is well worth the risk. The 2021 NNSCRA Daytona 500, Saturday, February 20th, exclusively on Flatout Racing Network.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
We welcome you back here to Circuit of the Americas, as we are now 10 laps in to the 8th race of the season for the second season of the Dark Horse IndyCar Series presented by HyperX. And we've been watching a pretty good battle here for the 7th, 8th, 9th position. Nick DeGroot, Craig Forsyth, Gail Brooks in this mix. We got a car on pit road, the 7 of Gary Corley. Now, we focused on him actually back during the side-by-side commercial because we noticed he dropped down the running order. And Matt, I think you actually went back and saw what happened to him.
It looks like he was coming up through the S's and he looks like just attacked one of these curbs just a lot more aggressively than you did. Ended up launching part of the car into the air. Did an amazing job to save it. But I was looking at his side pod, and his side pod had a little bit of damage. It looks like his front wing had a little bit of damage. Came in, took a fast repair. He's back out on track, but definitely a heartbreak for him.
And we got another driver on pit road, 57 of Jim Herrick coming down. Now, this is interesting because if you consider Jim Herrick at the speedways, he's one of those drivers that stretches it as far as it can possibly go. But here at the road course, he's going to be one of the first inside the top 10 to hit pit lane.
And we mentioned it again on the commercial where we were looking at the 27 of Forsyth. And Forsyth really aggressively slid his tires in one corner, gave Nick de Groot back his spot. But how is that going to play into the rest of this race where these tires get more worn and it'll really show you how aggressively you've been pushing?
You know, the thing about, too, that with coming to pit road now, more than likely you're then going to be able to come to pit road around lap 25, 26 if you're Jim Herrick. I mean, who knows how much time you're going to be able to make up here on these fresh tires now, because probably going to be another 3 laps before we see our leaders hit pit road.
That's the thing where you want to plan these pit stops exactly where you start losing speed, and you kind of want to keep pace with the rest of the field. That's kind of just the game here, just trying to make sure that you're not losing time, but you're not, giving up time by getting new tires.
We're 12 laps, well, actually 11 laps into this run. And if we look at our race leader in terms of lap time comparison, his fastest lap was a 1:45.198, so let's call it a 1:45.2. His last lap was a 1:45.85, so there's about a 0.6 of a second difference between his brand new tires and 11 lap old tires. In all honesty, at a road course, that doesn't really seem like much to me.
No, but I'm just looking at Mileska here. Mileska's putting on a clinic. I mean, he's running this race exactly how you're supposed to run it. Don't abuse your tires. Don't try to do anything flashy. He's just driving within his ability. And that's just perfect. That's how he needs to run this race.
And of course, he got his first win of the season at Road America, the first road course stop of the season. He followed it up the next week at Texas Motor Speedway to go back-to-back, but now trying to kind of do a back-to-back in reverse order. He won at a speedway last week. Motegi.
Looks like Forsyth actually went around, or actually looks like he may have got a little bit of assistance from the 71 of Gale Brooks. Oh no, he did get turned around by Gale Brooks, and I don't know which corner that is. But yeah, he just
71's on pit road now too for what looks like a regularly scheduled stop.
Yeah, that definitely hurts for Forsyth.
Also, the 63 of AJ Hobson is on pit road and has been on pit road for the last 40-some-odd seconds. This doesn't look like a regularly scheduled stop for the 63 car.
Actually, no, it looks like he got loose same way that Nicholas Winook got loose. He cut that last corner so aggressively. I mean, the whole left side tires are all on the rumble strips. Spun it on around. Fortunately, it doesn't look like he was able to stop it in time, backed it into the barrier. No really big damage on that car, but it looks like he felt he was in a bad spot and just decided to return to pit road by towing.
Well, looks like Alex Van Desant and Matt Wagner deciding if we're going to beat this 91, we've got to outplay him in terms of pit road. They both just hit pit lane here, maybe about a lap earlier than they needed to. We'll see if taking on that extra lap of fresh tires, if that's going to allow them to close up the gap between themselves and Mileska III, who I kind of get the feeling we're probably going to see on pit road this next lap.
Looks like Moskowitz went around in one of these corners. Oh, wow. He almost took out 13 of Krista Nelson. Just a miscalculation in the corners.
Right now, 1 lap down in the 17th position. Dylan Moskowitz actually making his first road course stop of start of the season. He did not take part in the Road America festivities, as here comes the 27 of Craig Forsyth down to the attention of his crew. And Mileska now making his way through the final couple corners. We'll see if he's going to hit pit lane this time. Nope. He's going to stay out on the racetrack and run it to the complete 14th lap. We did see a driver was pitting. That was Charles Teed and AJ Musselman, who now are going to go a lap down to the race leader. And Charles Teed, our Iowa winner, last couple of weeks has actually had some decent outings. I believe last week he ended up finishing in the 7th position at Motegi. That gained him a spot in points, ties him with Eric Schaus for 6th in the standings. And speaking of Eric Schaus, he's not in the field here tonight. A driver that
Eric Schaus is in 4th.
He is in 4th. I'm blind. My apologies. My apologies. Man, you can't see it, create a story. Anyway, yeah, so Schaus is running well. I don't know what I was just saying before.
Well, Schaus has been carrying momentum.
So the points coming into this race, let's talk about that a little bit here. I mean, right now, Robert Maleska III, of course, with having the win last week, he's opened up a huge points gap between himself and second place Matt Wagner, 70 points, and that's only 7 races in. Alex Van de Sant, 86 points back in 3rd. Victor Santos, there's the driver. Well, nope, I'm not talking. He's 4th in the points, 8th and 88 points back, and Nick DeGroot is 96 points back in 5th. Yeah, you don't have to point out to me that Victor's running 7th.
You doing all right, buddy?
I'm doing just fine, you know. Mother said there'd be days like this, just not this many.
Brain fade.
Got another car on pit road. 36 of Eric Peterson. He's going to be coming down from around the 8th position. 4-tire pit stop for him. And it looks like Maleska is hitting pit road this time. So he was able to stretch it the full 14 laps that we were told. So I have a feeling with the pace that he's setting, we're probably going to see him go with the 14:28 as far as target lap strategy, and then save it for that final 7-lap run.
And obviously, I mean, he's going to force a lot of hands here. Or these people, or somebody's going to be thinking about a different stop strategy. He's probably just blowing the doors wide open, saying, "Hey, I mean, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to commit to this 2-stop strategy, and you guys have to beat me with whatever you think you got."
Well, hold on a second, because he just now left pit road, and Alex Van de Sant closed up what was about a 35-second gap, since he was the first one of the 2 on pit road, and he's going to be within striking distance of that 91, I do think. He's up to speed. He's got his tires warmed up. It's about little less than 6 seconds now between those two. So if he can pull off that strategy again one more time in the vicinity of laps 25 to 28, we could have a battle on our hand here in the closing stages.
So I just went ahead and took a look at what really made the difference between the two. I'm looking here at Maleska's pit road time. The time that he spent driving down the lane was 33.6 seconds. And a time that Van de Sant ended up driving down pit road, that was 32.7. That doesn't seem like a lot of time, but hey, Van de Sant was able to go at full speed for about an extra second, while Maleska was stuck at pit road speed for about an extra second. Not to mention that Maleska's pit stop time was 9.2 seconds, while Van de Sant managed to get out in 8.1.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised about that. That, to me, are the most telling numbers of all, because Maleska stayed out 2 laps longer than Van de Sant, and those 2 extra laps of fuel that they had to put into the car translates to nearly a full second between the amount of time both drivers spent in their pit stall. And as you said, it seems like a minute amount of time, but it actually translates into something much more important when everything is all said and done with where they are on the racetrack after the pit stops are complete.
Here's an idea. If you know you're already going to stop, hey, lap 28 or around lap 28, and you can make it on this 2-stop strategy, would you or would you not short your fuel either here or by next time, but you come down the pit road, just get out of pit road just a little bit faster, because you don't need all that fuel. Right now, you can short yourself just a little bit, take fresher tires earlier, fill up the car with fuel, and make a long run to the end.
Yeah,
or,
I'm with you.
Yeah, or right now, just take the full fuel load, and then right at the end, hey, run it out to about lap 28, take a little bit of fuel, take fresh tires, go.
I mean, they've already done a 14-lap stint, most of these drivers, on what they've got in terms of Firestones. I say definitely come down pit road, lap 22, lap 23, and then run those tires to the end. And to your point, take on that lesser fuel load. Now, the one thing that I am wondering here is, can you not lose time with changing those 4 tires? Let's say, for instance, you come down pit road and you take on the amount of fuel you would need to make it the rest of the way. Would you have to spend a little bit of extra time on pit road to get those tires on? I don't know.
Definitely there is a potential that, hey, it's going to be a slow stop. I mean, here's the thing, your pit crew, I mean, hey, they may be throwing out 8 flats all day until, hey, that one time they end up throwing a 9-second pit stop. I mean, hey, that can happen.
Battle for 5th place going to happen here between Jim Herrick and Eric Schaus, who, yes, I do remember, he's in the field. Herrick came to pit road 5 laps ago. Eric Schaus was on pit road 1 lap ago. Looks like that pit strategy worked out, at least for the time being, for the 57 of Jim Herrick. We're going to have to wait and see here on the long run now if those tires do start to fade and if he actually starts losing positions as a result. But at least for the time being, it's really looking to me like those drivers that decided to short pit, they've actually made some net gains rather than losing any positions or any time to drivers that they were battling before the pit stops began.
I mean, you got to think they may have shorted fuel as well, which means the car's a little bit lighter, a little bit more agile. Now, that's not always a great thing. That means the car may be a little bit more prone to sliding around or a little bit lighter where it can turn around a lot easier. But that could very well help them oh no, Herrick went off the track.
Fortunately, all that runoff allowing him to gather it back up before meeting the sand trap, and that's going to bring Eric Schaus even closer to the back door in the battle for that position. They're closing up on, I believe that's a lap machine, the 88 of Michael Spell, 17th place. He could play a factor here, and to maybe Eric Schaus using him as a pick. Ooh. He's going to move out of the way, drivers left, and let those lead lap cars on by.
See, that's kind of the mind games that happens where you can see the guy behind you obviously gaining a little bit of second by second. You're just looking at the track, trying to find where you can improve. And he just slid again. And you're looking at, hey, I'm seeing that guy get closer and closer. Can I start running different lines to see if I can gain some time back? Or what is he doing? And just those thoughts that get in your head.
Whoa!
Krista Nelson.
Gracious.
Oh, no.
Nearly took the nose of the 57 off and nearly put herself way off course trying to get out of the way of those lead cars.
That's the thing. These cars will catch you in the absolute worst places possible.
Now, if we look here in terms of our push to passes, we are now halfway through this race. Jim Herrick has used 3. However, Matt Wagner in the 99, he has used the most of our drivers up inside of the top 10. He has used 4 already, running 30 seconds behind the race leader, 25 seconds behind Alex Van de Sant. Right now en route to back-to-back third-place finishes in his road course starts this season. But is this a case now of just kind of holding what you got? Because I'm not necessarily certain that the pit strategy worked out for him and getting him up into the hunt for this victory. Right now it's looking like it's the 91 and the 317.
Here's the thing, even with these pit stops, let's say you take less in fuel. Let's say you're not even trying to take tires. I mean, here's the thing, that will affect you. And it's, hey, recognizing that I'm losing time, but also making kind of sense for yourself saying, hey, if I short pit again, let's see what's the earliest I could possibly come in and still make the end of the race, and what will lose me the least amount of time on the car in front of me.
I think right now he would be happy with where he's running in the 3rd position. The only problem is the driver that he's trying to run down for the points lead is leading this race. So he's watching up there ahead and seeing positions in the or not positions, but points in the standings growing between himself and Maleska III. I've been watching the last couple of laps here for the 317 of Van de Sant, and it was about 6 seconds when we checked in on him after the pit stops were completed. He has been able to close that up to as close as 3.5 seconds. He did lose a little bit of time there through the second half this lap, but that car, at least for the time being, his lap times have been fast, his lap times have been consistent. I'm almost wondering, though, if right now Robert Maleska III might be playing with that 317. He's trying to manage the gap and save his stuff at the same time.
I mean, it's obviously, you're looking at the Descent here. Descent is, here's the thing. He's obviously saving a little bit left in the tank, but he's trying to catch the 91.
Oh, we've had an issue for the 71 of Gale Brooks. Sorry to cut you off.
And the 15 of Covey Moore.
Yeah, complete nose gone off of the 71, and Covey Moore, who was running in the 4th position, actually still running there. Oh, that might have been another case of a lap machine making contact with a lead lap car.
Covey Moore did an amazing reverse entry into that corner. Didn't exactly help him for speed, but I'll give him 10 for style points.
And right now, with everything that's transpired in the first 18 laps of this race, we've only got 9 drivers on the lead lap. I'm trying to remember back at Road America how many drivers we had in the lead lap. It wasn't many, as I recall. I'll check on that. But, Maleska, he's putting on a clinic. He is running solid lap times, lap after lap. There hasn't been a whole lot of fall off. And for the most part, he has not put a tire wrong so far.
Yeah, and that's all you can ask is Maleska has given himself a little bit of a padding where he does not have to push. I mean, if you look at Maleska versus DeSant is pushing his car a little bit to that edge. Where look at Maleska, he's not even touching the curbs, or at least not in most of the corners. He's not really even touching the curbs. And he's doing that for a reason, which is, hey, there's no reason to push it to the edge if I've got no one behind me who's really pushing me. And there's no reason for me to push to the edge if, hey, I can hang this good lead. Here's the thing, you could be leading 34 laps, but you have an issue on the 35th lap. Hey, that could cost you a win.
Noticing here a pass. This is not for position. This is going to put the 76 of Jim Brooks a lap down, and there is Victor Santos just up ahead. If Maleska completes the pass on the 24, I mentioned that we had only a handful of drivers finish on the lead lap back at Road America, 7 in total. With this pass, we now only have 7 drivers on the lead lap, so Maleska might beat his own record of cars lapped that he set back at Road America, because it's only about roughly maybe 5-6 seconds before he gets up there into the vicinity of Nick DeGroot, the 7th place car.
Speaking of Jim Brooks, he has not had a great last few weeks. At Motegi, he managed to claw back, but I remember back at Vegas where he just unfortunately got taken out. His results, they're all usually somewhere in the top 20, the top 15, but his point standings just don't reflect kind of the effort I've seen him put in.
Yeah, Jim Brooks was a driver that we really had penciled in as one to watch this season, just based off his performance in last year's Indianapolis 500. As right now, best battle on track is going on between some lap machines. A couple of drivers that have run into some issues here today. Charles Teed, who had a spin in a section of the course back in the first 10 laps of this race, and Gail Brooks, who we saw come to pit road and have to take on that fast repair after the contact between herself and Kobe Moore. They are currently about 3 car length separation in a battle for the 13th position.
I don't know about you, but even if I'm a lap down, if there's someone I can see who I can pass in front of me for a position, I'm going for it.
And at this point in time here, Matt, if drivers decided to, it could come down pit road and they could make it the rest of the way. So far, we've had no takers hitting pit lane here, so more than likely all these drivers will be coming down pit road somewhere in the vicinity of laps 26 to 28. I think probably Maleska III is going to be one of the final ones we'll see on pit road, probably at the aforementioned lap 28 mark.
Van de Sant, he's slowly creeping down on that lead. He's working his way up there. I'm seeing Forsyth here in the lap cars. Forsyth is tracking down Brooks here.
It's interesting, too, as we're going to follow that battle that you're talking about. The thing that kind of surprises me is, let's say, for instance, that Maleska is backing off, that he is saving his stuff. Why would you do that? Right now, as looks like Brooks is going to actually let Forsyth on by for that 9th position. But why would you not push it and try and continue to open up that gap? Because I would certainly think that Maleska is aware of the fact that Van de Sant was able to close up a huge margin of the gap that he had built, as we nearly played some bumper cars there between the 24 and the 27.
But that was just Craig letting Victor know he was there.
Bump and run at Circuit of the Americas.
Krista Nelson's off in the final corner.
And now brings it back onto the racing surface. Nobody around her, so able to get back on without hitting anybody.
But going back to what you said, it's the thing of, hey, I just want to have a little bit extra in the tank. And also, hey, if I drive a little bit conservatively now, I'm saving fuel. I can run an extra lap or two on my current strategy where, hey, when I come in for my final pit stop, I can take less gas. Maybe I don't even have to take tires. I can really maintain my lead without really having to push it.
Looks like Victor Santos ran into an issue in the 24. He's got that right front wing up into the air, some damage sustained, and there you see that is the faster pair as the wing pops back into place. So Santos has now utilized his only faster pair, and what I would assume is probably his final pit stop of the day. So he's one of those very few that look like they're going to be coming to pit road and trying to now stretch it the rest of the way from this point on.
But I don't know if that pit stop by Santos was a willing pit stop. I think he may have had some damage when battling with Forsyth, and that kind of forced his hand a little bit.
Yeah, the thing that really surprised me too, I know that obviously the Indy cars are very aero sensitive, but to me it seems like at a track where there's a lot of turning left and right, a lot of heavy braking zones.
I was looking back here. DeGroot actually spun around. He managed to get it back going. Still don't know what corner that is. Ended up just sliding the car just a little bit, pulled it back altogether.
Be trying to push it because Robert Maleska III is right there in the same camera shot trying to put him a lap down.
That's the thing, which is, and you got to think two sides of the coin. We mentioned this at Twin Ring Motegi, which is, hey, you've got the Groot who's still trying to, say, hey, listen, my season's not over yet. I can still make this happen as Maleska comes down the pit road. This actually is a little bit uncommon since his strategy. He was still able to go for another 6 laps before he needed to come in.
Yeah, I mean, I literally just said, because he stretched it the furthest you could go on the first run, that he was probably going to target lap 28 for his final pit stop. Well, more the fool me. He got me. He's coming down. He's going to pit right when the fuel window is open for his final stop of the day. So now the ball is in the court of one Alex Van de Sant. What does he do? And the first thing he's got to do is make sure he doesn't wreck his car trying to get around this traffic. That's the 88 of Michael Spell, and I think that's the 7 of Gary Corley just up ahead. Those two are actually in a battle for 16th place as Michael Spell ran really shallow into that corner, and that car did not turn, almost off the runoff area for him. Now Corley's going to move out of the way for Van de Sant. But you got to wonder maybe that little bit of checkup, how much is that going to affect the 317?
I mean, you got to think anything that throws you out of your rhythm will really affect you because, I mean, here's the thing. You can do that rhythm. Everyone knows the rhythm where you're not even thinking. You're just driving and you've got the right line. You know what you're doing. Well, hey, that's that one moment where you really have to look up like, whoa, wow, what am I doing? And that throws you out of that rhythm and that kind of trance that gets you set in.
Craig Forsyth just left pit road. Jim Herrick now enters pit road. Been a great day for that 57 car as he's been up in the top 5 pretty much the entirety of this race, pitting from the 5th position here. And the gap right now, waiting for it to continue to update itself, but the gap right now, 19.5 seconds between Alex Van de Sant and Robert Maleska III. And the thing that jumps out at me here, Matt, if you look at the amount of time that Maleska III spent in his pit stall, 6.2 seconds. We talked about if you come down early, you don't have to put as much fuel in the car, and that can translate into time gained. I think that's exactly what was on the mind of Maleska.
I mean, here's my big thing, which is if I was Van de Sant right now, I would be pushing it. I would be trying to set track records here. Because here's the thing. Maleska's still trying to get his tires up to temp. That's good. But it's also, hey, now I've made my bed where he's undercut me by about 6 laps of what I want to do. By about 4 or 6 laps. So I really need to push the envelope, see if I can get as much time between me and him before I need to come down from my pit stop. Because obviously I want tires. I need enough fuel to make it to the end.
And Van de Sant has had a very consistent year. 3rd in the point standings, but that win has eluded him as looked like he may have gone a little bit wide through that corner. Fortunately, again, that runoff there to save him as he's now catching up to another lap machine. I think that's 24 of Victor Santos, the 10th place running machine. Nope, correction. That's actually Nick DeGroot in the 1 car, who right now is the last car on the lead lap after the 91 hit pit road. Now he becomes the first car 1 lap down as Van de Sant makes the pass.
I mean, he'll get his lap back when Van de Sant ends up coming on the pit road, but I mean, like we were talking about, I don't know if you just saw that like I did, but Alex, he got on the gas just a little bit aggressively there, ended up kicking out the back end.
Saw Kobe Moore coming to pit road. Give a shout out to him. I don't think we've really talked about that 15 today, but we've seen how consistent he's been the last couple of weeks, coming off a top 5 run last week at Motegi and subsequently finds himself 10th in the point standings. This is a driver that at the beginning of the season really hit a bit of a cold streak and found himself outside the top 20 in points, and he's kind of been an under-the-radar driver for us as well. You know, we see him consistently up in the top 10, top 5 for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I don't really think we've given him enough credit with just how consistent he's been.
And that's the thing, which is, I mean, hey, just because you're not flashy, just because you're not running up front and winning races doesn't mean that you're not consistent, that you're not good. And obviously, Moore has been pretty much the starlit example of that. He's been kind of running good behind the scenes. Hasn't been up front battling with all these guys, but he's been hanging around there. He's within striking distance.
Third place, Matt Wagner hits pit road. Just ahead of him, 8th place, Jim Brooks, coming down for his final pit stop of the day. And at this point in time, it looks like Alex Van de Sant could go another 2 laps should he choose to. He's been out there for 12 laps so far on this run, is closing in on another machine. I believe that might be the... I want to say it's 33. I think it is the 33 of Nicholas Winook. Or no, I'm sorry, that's AJ Musselman in the 54. And we'll see if this 317 will come down pit road this time, or if he'll stay out one final lap. Undoubtedly, he'll be down in the next 2 laps.
Obviously, looking at what Van de Sant managed to do, I mean, he has created about a 22.6 second gap in between them. So that's obviously, it looks like he's coming to pit road this time, but that obviously has given him a little bit of a buffer where, hey, he can go and take new tires. He can go fill the gas tank a little bit. I don't know if he's going to, I think he might be coming out and battling Robert here.
Yeah, if I look at the last lap times, Van de Sant actually was faster for the last 2 laps. And Maleska had actually come down pit road and taken on a new set of tires. So that says to me, this 317's got himself some pretty good raw speed. You put on 4 fresh Firestones, and he may have something to say about this win with the 91, who just now hits the start-finish line. Van de Sant just now leaving pit road. There you see him in the shot. When the pit stops began, when Maleska came to pit road, it was about 4.5 seconds difference between the two. We'll wait and see what it's going to be here after these two now have basically made their beds and got to work with what they got.
See, that stop definitely hurt Van de Sant. Yeah, I'm just looking here. I mean, Maleska managed to pull off a stop time of 6.2 seconds. Van de Sant, 8 seconds flat.
Nearly
Maleska's
4
lane,
seconds combined lost.
Not even to mention Maleska's pit lane time, just driving down pit lane, was 30.4 seconds. Alex was 32.2, and I can understand why Alex is a little bit slower, just trying to, hey, I don't want to push that limit and possibly get a penalty, but I mean, here's the thing, it's kind of crunch time. You really got to push those limits.
Eric Peterson, Charles Teed, they're in for their final stops. Eric Schaus, he's now down to the attention of his pit crew, and I believe with the exception of the 86 of Todd Schneider, now everybody will be making their final pit stops of the day and should be good to make it to the checkered flag. The question is now, can Alex Van de Sant cut down a nearly 5.5 second gap between himself and Robert Maleska III with about 9.5 laps to go? The last couple of laps on older tires, Van de Sant was faster than the 91 car. I'm just not certain, though, that there's enough time here for him to be able to reel him in, let alone be able to pass him. We're going to have to wait and see. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break here and then come back for the finish as pit stops have finally been completed. The money stop here today. It's now time for these drivers to set themselves up into racing for the checkered flag. You're not going to miss a thing. One last time, we're going to go FRN side by side.
It's a road few dare to travel. A journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved. That's why we strap in, rev up, and fix our focus on the ultimate prize. Because the reward is well worth the risk. The 2021 NNSCRA Daytona 500, Saturday, February 20th, exclusively on Flatout Racing Network.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
It's a road few dare to travel, a journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved. That's why we strap in, rev up, and fix our focus on the ultimate prize. Because the reward is well worth the risk. The 2021 NNSCRA Daytona 500, Saturday, February 20th, exclusively on Flatout Racing Network.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
Back here for the finish of the 8th race of the season at Circuit of the Americas for Season 2 of the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. We're watching the battle here between Robert Maleska III, a 3-time winner, and Alex Van de Sant in the 317 chasing his first win of the season. And slowly but surely, Matt, we've been observing that gap has been chipping away between second and first place.
I mean, no matter what the outcome is, whether Maleska gets his 4th win of the season or Van Sant manages to catch him down, I mean, I cannot say this enough. Alex he has worked amazingly trying to just catch him. He ended up cutting it down. He's making the mistakes there, though. He's hitting the curbs. He's kind of running it a bit aggressive. That's a thing where he's seeing the time tick down. He's seeing the laps count down of, hey, I got to go. And that kind of puts you that artificial clock in that head that we're, you're running out of time.
What do you think? We're riding on board here with the 317. You can visibly see the 91 right up there in his shot. I mean, is that an added distraction for Van de Sant, do you think, rather than just having that clean racetrack and hitting your marks?
See, that's the thing where you can see the guy you're chasing, and some guys thrive off of that. Some guys thrive off, I can see him, I can chase him down, I can do everything better than he is. But some guys really don't thrive on that whole, looking and just seeing him there.
That last time, whoa! That Krista Nelson, I think that Van de Sant just had to go around. But right now, with 7 laps to go, about to be 6, it is now 6 as Maleska hits the line. That last time by, Van de Sant ran about 0.6 of a second faster, and we projected that right now, with the pace that he is setting, if he keeps up this consistency, he'd be about maybe 2-3 car lengths behind Maleska III coming off the final turn to the start-finish line for the checkered flag. And it looks like Maleska is starting to deal with some traffic as well, so we'll see if that's going to play a factor into Van de Sant closing up the gap quicker rather than that final lap.
And that's the thing where I'm looking at Van de Sant and I'm looking at Maleska, and really the key to any of the cars in road racing is how smooth they're driving. That's kind of usually the key of, how smooth, like, are we making erratic movements? Are we really just kind of jerking the car, get it to move? And I'm looking at Maleska here, and he's just kind of leisurely driving. It almost looks like, if you ignore the fact he's going 170 down the straight. And I'm looking at Van de Sant, I'm seeing how aggressively he's driving this car, and I'm just thinking maybe this car isn't handling like he wants it to.
So I'm going around the 88 of Michael Spell, who we saw on the side-by-side, had an issue, had it face down into the steel guardrail, and subsequently running around the track without that front wing, almost the entire front nose gone on that car. Right now, the gap 3.3 seconds between Maleska and Van de Sant. And one thing I'm noticing right now with Van de Sant, we talked about the runoff that's available to these drivers. He seems to be using it in every corner possible, trying to keep that momentum going onto these short and some long straightaways.
And let's not forget, if you do cut these corners aggressively enough, there will be a time penalty given out where iRacing will tell you to slow down and give them time back.
4 laps to go now as Maleska hits the line. Actually, correction, 5 laps to go. The gap now less than 3 seconds. And one other thing we got to remember, I mentioned that there didn't seem like there was a whole lot of fall off in terms of the tires when we were into that first run. Well, there is 3 laps fresher tires behind Robert Maleska III. So it is looking like, in terms of lap times right now, those fresher tires are coming into play.
And I wanted to give a shout out because I don't think we've talked about him at all today, which would be Matt Wagner. He's just been slowly and methodically just working his way up through the field. I mean, he's just been very stealthily working his way up and been keeping consistent time.
Yeah, he was 3rd at Road America. Right now looking for another podium here at the 2nd road course stop of the season, and 2nd in the point stands as well. I mean, right now, he's just managing what he can. He's not able to get up there and battle with Robert Maleska III for this race win. He knows he is going to lose some points to the 91 heading next week, but if he can hold where he's at, he's not going to lose that many points, as opposed to if he was running back just in the latter half of the top 10 or even outside of the top 10. So just managing the gap is what this 99 is doing here today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're just looking at the time between Maleska and Van de Sant here, and I don't know. It's close, but I don't know if he'll have enough time to reach him.
Now making his way around, I believe that was Charles Teed in the 5, putting him first car 2 laps down. Teed right now in the 12th position, and with now 4 laps to go, the gap is cut down yet again to 2.2 seconds between the top 2.
I mean, I was looking at those final... Oh, sorry. I was looking at those final 2 corners, and Maleska got so thrown out of his line there. Because, like I say, he was not expecting to catch Teague in the middle of the corner, so we ended up changing his entry into that, almost missing the apex. I mean, he overdrove the final corner coming in, so that's the little things that can throw you out of your rhythm and let Van de Sant catch up.
A couple of other drivers that we got to give some shout-outs to here. Covey Moore in the 15, running in the 4th position. Eric Schaus, who comes into this race inside the top 5 in the point stands. Well, actually 6th, tied for 6th with Charles Teed in points. He's running in 5th. And Jim Herrick, we saw him kind of play some pit strategy on his 2 rounds of green flag pit stops as well. And right now, looks like he is going to be finishing in the 6th position. Holds a pretty lengthy gap between himself and Nick DeGroot in that one machine. And you just kind of wonder about Nick DeGroot because we ended up having him finish 7th. Oh, did we have an incident with Forsyth? Yes, we did.
I'm looking here at Van de Sant. He's got 4 push passes left, and I see about a car every second from him. So he can really start abusing these push passes, but he had trouble getting around Jim Brooks.
And now that lost him a little bit of time. He had it cut down to 2 seconds. It's now 2.2 seconds behind the 91. And whoa, he was really good there through those S's, though. He's now closed it back down again to less than 2 seconds. And right there, visibly, you can see it translates to roughly about maybe 10 car lengths between those two, but the laps are ticking away, 3 to go. And when we talked with Alex Van Desant back at Road America, we asked him if he had anything for Robert Mileska III, and he said, yes, but I needed more laps. Well, we'll see if this extra would be about roughly 11 miles, if that 11 miles attributed to him will be enough time for him to be able to have something to say about his first win of the season.
And that's the thing where he's looking at all these lap cars that Mileska's catching right now and saying, oh, yes, keep holding them. Oh, my.
Whoa,
Forsythe, almost. Oh.
Exit stage left.
I mean, he saw that nice jump out of that turn and said, man, I want to go down there.
But Forsythe's had quite an adventurous last couple of laps. He ended up spinning
around.
No! Second place, Van Desant.
And at 72 there, Schaus he apologized. Alex said, I didn't realize that he was diving like that.
And I think Jim Brooks may have run into a slight issue just behind them, and like that.
No, it looks like Mileska actually pulled a kind of a friendly move there, which he actually let off and said, I'll stop for you.
Yeah, because Van Desant's actually... Yeah, Van Desant's actually back within a second. So this race isn't over yet. Less than 3 to go. Well, here we go.
That's a great sportsmanship move by him, just saying like, hey, you're catching me. There's no reason for me just to kind of run away if it's got a little bit of challenge.
Or traffic to deal with up ahead. I believe that is... I think that might possibly be the 36 of Eric Peterson that they're reeling in as they're going to get around him.
White flag lap? Or I may have shot it a 1 too early.
It'll be the next time around. Get excited early. That's fine.
But
Two laps to go here, and the gap of just a second even between those two. And right now, if we go on board with the 91, as you can see, nothing but clean racetrack as far ahead as you can possibly see on the horizon. So now it's basically a 1v1 here with these final 2 laps.
And here's the key is you see Alex, she's just pushing. And that's the thing where Alex is going to be pushing just a little bit harder than Mileska, just seeing if he can get any bit of advantage here. But if he pushes too hard, he's going to lock up, he's going to spin around, or he's going to overdrive it and end up ruining his chances.
The thing of it is, too, catching him is one thing, passing him is another. Obviously, Robert Mileska is going to have the choice of how he wants to enter into these corners in order to be able to make a pass, possibly. Van Desant could be forced to do something different. However, 2 push-to-passes for Robert Mileska III, 3 push-to-passes for Alex Van Desant. So advantage 317 here with 1 lap to go.
The one thing that Alex has to remember, and unfortunately that lap is over now, but he has to remember that you have about 1.5 laps to get yourself in the best position possible. And right now he's got about half a lap left before he's on that final lap where he has to make a move. So right now anything he does is aiding his last lap run.
Mileska's the points leader. He has 3 victories this season, including last week at Motegi as he ran a little wide there off the final turn, but so did Desant. 1 lap to go. Desant looking for his first win of the season. So who has the most to lose here? Who has the most to gain? A little less than 3.5 miles is going to settle it out.
I mean, you can be sure that Alex is not going to let him away easily.
Now, Robert Mileska used one of his push-to-passes on the front straightaway. Van Desant did not. He still has 3 push-to-passes left.
Now remember, you can use push-to-passes when you're within 1 second of the car in front of you, whether it be a lap car or a lapped car.
And right now, he has a little more than half a second between himself and the 317. Going to keep an eye on those push-to-passes to see when indeed Van Desant decides to use one. Wow, right onto the back bumper there through that corner, and he's using one now.
Like I said, he's hungry. He wants this win.
Definitely does. Trying to get his first win of the season. Finished second to Mileska in the first road course race at Road America. You can see there, Mileska weaving back and forth down the straightaway, trying to cut the draft there. You see the gap close up again. No more push-to-passes for the 91. The 317 still has 2 in the final stages of this race.
And that's what we were talking about. You want to have something at least in your back pocket. Obviously, these drivers don't know what they're both facing. Maleska doesn't know that the guy behind him still has push-to-passes.
Oh, had to get on the brakes there, did Van de Sant. This is the best view to be able to see what's going to happen here through these final corners. Oh, Maleska rode it wide, so too did Van de Sant. We're coming off the final turn. The push-to-passes are there. Oh, he's going to loop it. Van de Sant's going to loop it, come into the checkered. He had 2 push-to-passes to use. He spins out, and Maleska the third is going to cross the finish line and win here today at Circuit of the Americas. Van de Sant came oh so close.
That's it. I can't. Obviously, big props to Maleska, but that was an amazing run by Van de Sant. I mean, he gave it everything he had.
You even saw right there that Maleska kind of coasted to the start-finish line, seeing if maybe Van de Sant could recover the machine and give him a run down that front straightaway, but unfortunately, those rumble strips, we talked about how they can upset the race car, how slick they can be. If you hit them just wrong, they send you airborne, and it was a rumble strip that ended the hopes right there for Van de Sant to get his first win of the season, but credit both of these drivers. Van de Sant for, first off, being able to run down Maleska the third, and then as you talked about, the kind of gentlemanly thing that Maleska did, realizing that the 317 was faster than him, was reeling him in, and after he ran into that trouble with the slower machine, backed off and actually had it be a battle between the two of them in the final few laps of this race.
Yeah, I mean, both amazing competitors, very good sportsmanship. Just, that was incredible.
There you see the two of them, the two gladiators that battled it out for this victory. But Maleska the third, for the second time this season, he is going to be a back-to-back winner. He did it at a road course speedway for his first combo, this time a speedway road course. And he will continue to grow his points lead as well heading into next week at the short track of Worldwide Technologies Raceway. Let's take a look and see the final finishing results for today's event. And again, as we mentioned in the closing stages, a lot of drivers kind of under the radar here tonight, but still salvaging really good runs. Wagner, back-to-back thirds in his first 2 road course starts of the season. Covey Moore, the momentum continues for him with 4th. Eric Schaus in 5th. You got Jim Herrick there in 6th. Nick de Groot in 7th. Santos Forsyth, after his adventures, still finishes in 9th place, with Gail Brooks completing the top 10, 5th top 10 for that 71 car.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. Nick de Groot did a great job of just trying to limit the loss today. I mean, like I said, today could have been much more of a points-gaining day, but that's kind of what you want and what we were talking about, where you don't want to lose points. You don't want to lose ground. And, hey, for some guys, this road courses are rare chances to shine, but for others, they're just trying to look to make it through.
20 drivers finished this race. Only 4 of them on the lead lap. 2 drivers finished out of tonight's event, AJ Hobson and Paul Jennings. So let's take the opportunity now and to go down and talk with some of our top 3 finishers. And let's kick things off with the driver, the number 99, Matt Wagner.
I'll just see if I can grab him here. There we go.
Hey, Matt. It's Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I got you loud and clear.
Well, we talked about it here the entirety of the race, how you just kind of seem to be under the radar there in that 3rd position. We saw you do the exact same thing back at Road America. Was there anything you think you had for those top 2 drivers, or were you just trying to hold down that final spot in the podium?
I'm just trying to hold down the spot at the podium. Those 2 guys up there, they're just mad quick. They're about a second to about 2 seconds faster than I am. All I can do is keep the car on the track and don't spin her out and avoid the traffic.
Matt, you got any questions here for Wagner?
Oh, my apologies. But yeah, I mean, Seth kind of rounded up my question, where really it was an uneventful race for you. I mean, I know it's going to sound a little bit of a strange question, but were you kind of bored that nothing happened?
No, I'm not really bored. I'm sitting here buying my time. I only had 1 off track that whole race, and everybody else is in double digits. And like I said, I was trying to keep her clean the whole time, keep her on track, don't wreck it. But all in all, I did have a moment with Dylan there off of, I think his turn 9. Other than that, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I am not a big fan of this track, but I'm looking forward to Silverstone on schedule.
See, now I got to follow it up with. I mean, a lot of these guys. I mean, some guys are road course guys. Some guys are not road course guys. I mean, what do you kind of list yourself in between there? Are you a road course kind of guy who, hey, I love these road courses, or some of the on the man? I mean, I could care less for road courses, but not my worst thing.
I enjoy road courses. During the past year, I have been pretty bad, and I have been trying to get better at it with the IndyCar and the IR18. It's been improving. It's been a long journey. I've been gotten away from the ovals, but I prefer the road. I really do.
Well, Matt, obviously you've been off to a tremendous start during the first half of this season. You had that win to open up the year at Auto Club. You come into this race currently in I believe you're up in the second position in points. So, I mean, with the consistency that we're definitely seeing out of you right now, how do you see this going down the home stretch? Got a couple more races before we actually officially hit the halfway point, but what's the confidence level for you?
Pretty high. I am definitely looking forward to next week at Worldwide Technology. That is one of my bread and butter tracks, the technical ovals. And last week, it was a big disappointment with fourth place, and things didn't go my way. But the second half of the season, I am looking forward to that schedule.
Well, Matt, congrats on a great run here tonight. P3, back-to-back third-place finishes in your 2 road course starts so far this season. Good luck next week at Worldwide Technology Raceway. We're going to now give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Thank you, sponsors and shout-outs. I would like to thank Robert. He's been working with me on these road courses all this week. It's been drastically helping me, and I really do appreciate that. And shout out to my parents. They're doing great in Florida, staying out of trouble, stay safe, and they're washing their hands. Other than that, Butt Kicker, new sponsors coming up, I've been hearing. And guys, I really appreciate the work you do in the announce booth.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. That's Matt Wagner. He finishes third place here tonight at the Circuit of the Americas. Once again, congratulations on a great run, and we look forward to seeing this consistency continue during the course of the season. Maybe we'll see in Victory Lane again. You can cut into that 91 points lead.
You might see me next week because I love that track. See you guys. Be careful. Stay safe. Wash your hands.
And now let's see if we can get our second place finisher, Alex Van de Sant, who was so close to being able to pick up his first victory of the season. Alex, it's Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us? We'll see if we can try again here. Hey, Alex, you got us up here in the booth? Looks like
Yep, gotcha.
Oh, there we go. We've got him. Okay, Alex, I mean, man, I got to ask you. We saw you driving your heart out. We talked to you back at Road America. You said that the thing that just kind of took you out of the hunt for the win there was you didn't have enough laps to work with. Man, you were right on his back bumper going into that final corner. We were keeping an eye on the fact that you ended up having 2 push-to-passes left to work with. If you'd been able to stay with him, if that car had stayed underneath you, did you have him coming down to the start-finish line?
It was going to be close. I'll let him tell you about it, but I guess he had damage, so he didn't take tires, so he could get it repaired. So, like, I didn't know that at the time. I just had everything muted, so I just, time was falling down, and eventually I caught him, and I was kind of shocked. So yeah, really good battle at the end there. I just dumped it myself on that last corner. Oh well.
So, big question I have is, I mean, we're kind of speculating up here if anyone, took less fuel, if anyone's trying to kind of, hey, their first stint, maybe take less fuel, and then their second stint do a full tank. Was that ever in the equation for you, or ever anything you ever thought about?
Yeah, so my my plan going in was just split it into 3 chunks. The fuel window was super wide, like 7 laps. So, just do 2 12-lap stints or thereabouts and finish off with a slightly shorter stint. And then, you save time not taking as much fuel during the stop as well. And it worked out for me, I guess. I had that pace at the end and throughout the race, but relative to Robert, I was a bit faster.
One thing that we were noticing was, especially on that first stint, it was only looking like you guys were losing about 6 to maybe 8 tenths of a second on the fresh tires to the old tires. Didn't really seem like Circuit of the Americas was playing a lot of havoc with the grip that you guys were feeling in terms of lap times. Was that the case?
Yeah, I did notice that as well, and that did kind of surprise me. It's not what I experienced in practice, but the last lap of my last stop through the S's, I could feel the fronts like really starting to like drop off a cliff. I don't know if I had like overheated them that lap or what, but that's when I decided, just call it, bring it in, and go to the end.
Well, Alex, we know that you really wanted to get that first win of the season. I mean, but if you consider the numbers that you've had so far this year at the road courses, back-to-back second-place finishes, we know that there are more road courses on the schedule. So does this give you confidence going into those road courses, knowing that you were this close here today to being able to pick up the victory and that you might be able to one-up that 91 at a later date?
Oh, for sure. I was, that close. I was able to capitalize on Robert making a mistake and taking some damage. So, as long as I'm there and I can get that consistency like I did tonight for the next 2 road courses, I should be in good shape. So, yeah, really really proud of this drive tonight.
Great run for you tonight, no doubt about that, Alex. Congratulations on a second-place finish, and thank you for giving us one heck of a final lap to be able to call there. That was exciting right down to that final corner. We're going to have the opportunity now to do some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, big thank you to Happy Trails Chili Seasoning, available now on Amazon as well, so you can search that up, as well as lmcgear.com for sponsoring the team, with Jim Herrick doing an awesome job running us, keeping us all organized, and yeah.
That's Alex Van Desant, second place here tonight at Circuit of the Americas. Once again, congratulations on a great performance overall here today, and best of luck next week at Worldwide Technologies.
Thanks, fellas.
And last but not least, let's go down to Victory Lane and talk with tonight's race winner, Robert Maleska III. Robert, it's Matt and Seth up here in the booth. You got us?
Hey, boys. How's it going?
Well, we talked about last week the possibility of going back-to-back for the second time this season, but boy, it was a nail-biter down there on that final lap between yourself and the 317. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think the second stint, I think I got damaged, so I pit early there and didn't take tires, thinking if I had a front wing repair, it would save me a bit of time. But coming to those 5 laps, I was on ice, and Alex was flying. So, yeah, I think he was going to catch me with probably a lap and a half to go. And then it sounded like he got spun or there was some contact back there. So I'm like, I don't want to win like that. I let him get the same exact gap we had before. And then we just went at it again. It was a great battle. That was a lot of pressure.
So a big question I have is, we were kind of speculating up here in the booth where you pitted on lap 14. You could go about 14 and a half laps on fuel before you need to come in the pit. What was the decision about coming down pit road around lap 22?
I think I might have got into Craig. I'm not sure if it was Forsyth, but I know I got into someone in the stadium section there, like 14, 15, 16 complex. And I thought I had front wing damage, maybe side pod, but I was sure it was front wing, and I was just losing half a second to a second a lap, it seemed like. So I'm like, I need to get this repaired if it is a front wing, which I guess it wasn't. I guess it was side pod, but yeah, that's the main reason I pit early there, is just to get that repaired.
Robert, it's actually really incredible. I think a lot of people don't realize the fact that if you end up getting damage, even at a road course, it is going to affect your speed. And of course, a big contributor to a lot of the lead lap cars we saw running into trouble was making their way around lap machines, We know that this track has 20 corners, and a lot of them are really, really tight with a lot of heavy braking zones. So how difficult was it for you as the race leader to maneuver your way through said traffic?
It was extremely difficult. I mean, I know a lot of people, including myself, before this week started, we didn't know this track at all. So, yeah, getting around is that, especially that first time, just taking your time and just trying not to get damaged. Because offline, at least for me, it was pretty icy.
Well, Robert, great run for you here tonight. A dominating performance, but again, as we said, it kind of came down to those final few corners. But fourth win of the season, you extend your points lead heading into Worldwide Technology Raceway next week. So congratulations on that. Anybody you'd like to give thank yous to, shout out sponsors, anything like that?
Big thanks to Matt Wagner. I know he's a competitor of mine, but we were working hand in hand with the setup the last 3-4 days, trying to make it really good for everyone. And I think it helped the racing a lot, and it was way more drivable than what we started with. So big thanks to him for hosting sessions and helping with the setup.
Well, Robert Mileska III now has won back-to-back races for the second time this season. We'll see if maybe next week he could be the first driver to go 3 in a row. Best of luck. Congrats on the win tonight.
Yep, thanks, boys.
And so as Mileska continues to celebrate in victory lane, as mentioned, next week it's Worldwide Technology Raceway. It's the shortest track that these drivers are going to be having to deal with so far this season, a little bit shorter than Iowa. I don't know, Matt, short track racing with these Indy cars, what do you think we're in for?
I mean, we saw how much contact there was at Motegi. So, I mean, going onto a smaller track, that definitely brings a little bit more. I mean, if you remember Worldwide Technology is a little bit more of a flat track with less banking in the corners. So if you think about the earlier races in the season, like Vegas, Atlanta, those kind of races that had high bankings, that doesn't really apply here. I'd be looking more to like a Phoenix kind of race.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. It will officially mark the halfway point of the season, race 9 of an 18-race schedule. And a thing that I'm kind of wondering about, you kind of put it in terms of a Phoenix race. We saw Robert Mileska III have trouble at Phoenix when he came to pit road, found himself mired back in traffic and got caught up in a wreck during the midway portion of this race. Is that a place where drivers like Matt Wagner and Alex Van de Sant, Eric Schaus, drivers that are trying to reel him in for the points lead, have circled as a place to be able to strike?
Yeah, a lot of these guys, I mean, right now I'm looking at the points. Robert Mileska's about 30. He gained about 20, 30 points here just off of this race alone. And he's obviously going to be saying, hey, I mean, I managed to pull off a win at Phoenix, so I'm obviously going to try and extend my lead.
Yeah, not a whole lot of changes going on amongst the top 6. We had a couple of positions change from 7th down through 10th, but some of these names that are up there as well, Victor Santos, Nick DeGroot. I mean, we know that they're good at the speedways, and I don't know, for Nick DeGroot, do you think that this is a case of him glad to be leaving a road course? Because, yeah, he's had top 10 finishes, but they've been back-to-back 7th place finishes at both Road America and now here today at COTA.
Well, it's like we were going over at Twin Ring, where it was, hey, I mean, he's just trying to find his footing and find a rhythm here. Because it seems like these past few races, he's been grasping, trying to find a good rhythm to get himself back in, regain some confidence. Because, I mean, you've seen him this past few races, and just, he hasn't looked like himself.
Definitely is not. Right now, Robert Mileska III is looking like he's the one that's saying, hey, if you're going to win this championship, you're going to have to go through me. But again, the season is still early. Anything can still happen. We've still got 10 more races before we eventually end up crowning a champion at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But a great one here tonight. Another solid road course race. This time it got down a little bit closer than Road America. Alex Van de Sant giving it a heck of a run down to that final corner on the final lap, but the car just did not want to work with him in terms of grip. Mileska able to scamper away and pick up his 4th win of the season. A good one here tonight. Matt, appreciate you joining me in the booth.
Oh, as always, thanks for having me.
And thanks to everybody that tuned in tonight here as well. We hope you enjoyed our coverage tonight at Circuit of the Americas. Again, next week, these drivers will reach the halfway point of the season at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Green flag scheduled to fly at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For Matthew Rodriguez, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. Be sure to head on over and check out our other broadcasts that's taking place here tonight is the Sarg Super Speedway Series. They're over at Daytona, so head on over there if you haven't had a completeness of your iRacing bug, if you will. But have a good night, everybody. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.